Hi everyone, and welcome to this lecture on the importance of digital marketing for SMEs. We have the chat open, and my friend Anna is taking any questions and putting it in my chat. So as we go through, if you have any questions, just put it straight in the chat rather than wait till the end, and I'll try and cover it as best as possible. Okay, start off a little bit about myself. I'm a senior lecturer, I'm Paul Dobson, a senior lecturer here at Staffordshire University. I've been here at Staffordshire University now for just around 11 years. I specialise in digital marketing and I covered strategic marketing. So I cover, for example, the MSc Digital Marketing. I teach on our entrepreneurial courses. I teach on our apprenticeships. So if any of you are interested in apprenticeships, coming in, for example, and getting a degree in apprenticeships on digital marketing, give me a shout. I also teach on, we also cover the digital marketing clinics. So if any of you are interested in digital marketing clinics, we run free clinics in the business school where we offer you direct face-to-face support or online support, depending on how we're doing with the lockdown at this point in time. Okay. Prior to Staffordshire University, I worked in various internal and external consultancies. So I've worked in here in the UK quite a lot. I've worked in France, Greece, Germany, I worked in Phoenix and so on. So I don't have a global aspect, but I definitely have quite an international aspect behind me. Okay. So what for digital marketing and SMEs? The key thing in digital marketing is most businesses nowadays really need to know if their businesses, if their customers, and whoever they're supplying to are on the internet or on social media and so on, really small businesses need to have their presence there, raise a profile there, keep an eye on what's going on with competitors there, what they're saying, what their customers are saying, and being able to respond to their customers in a fairly prompt manner. So for nearly all businesses, you really need to have a good digital marketing presence, and also just to keep an eye out there what's going on. So this process of digital marketing, it's about generating sales, it's about capturing customers, it's about developing your brand name. Even for example, charities and social enterprises, if you're looking for one of those, it won't be maybe not related directly to sales, but definitely working with and communicating with potentially volunteers, other businesses out there getting business support, corporate sponsorship, and so on. So it covers a huge expanse. But please remember that digital marketing is part of your overall marketing. So it needs to be linked in, it needs to be coordinated with the rest of your marketing that you're doing. So if you're doing flyers, leaflets, promotions, conferences, and so on, digital marketing is part of this overall package. But the one thing that is definitely worthwhile bearing in mind, keeping an eye on, is the fact that digital marketing is moving at an incredibly fast pace. Certainly, for example, during lockdown, the demographics of how people are looking online has changed quite a lot. Platforms has changed quite a lot. YouTube, for example, is now looking at YouTube Shorts. Facebook page is changing. Facebook Marketplace in itself is changing. TikTok used to be for the much younger generation, but certainly some of the businesses I'm supporting now, we are driving sales up to about just below about the 40-year-olds on TikTok. So certainly, if you're looking at quite a wide range of customer bases, it is potentially your customers are looking there. That's potentially a place to be and have a look. So the world's most popular platforms, you're probably aware of it. Start off with Facebook. Facebook has now been around for well over a decade and certainly caters quite well for the older generation. The older generation don't tend to be on that so much at this point in time, but definitely some of the older generation up to quite a wide range. So, for example, where I live, my next door neighbour, she's 78, and she's active on Facebook. So we are talking about quite a substantial range on Facebook. YouTube certainly in the Western culture is I think the second biggest search engine out there, and it's incredibly powerful. And again, even when you search on Google, you will find that YouTube ranks on the pages. In fact, there's a little cheat they're thinking about it, where you have a blog or a page and you include a YouTube clip within that, that is actually also linked and demonstrated and shown within the YouTube videos area. So you can actually get away with having almost like two links on one Google search, which is quite a nice little cheat there. Instagram is still going there. TikTok, it's a bit old now because TikTok is definitely very popular, heavily used and so on. And we'll discuss this a bit more later on. So the benefits over traditional marketing. Well, social media and digital marketing, to a large extent, and there's a bit of a caveat there, to a large extent, puts the customer in control. If you're on Instagram and you're on Facebook and you see an advert you don't like, you can just flick past it. There is a bit of an interference there, certainly with paid for advertising, but you can click straight past it. It provides, in fact, there's a few of these grouped together, like the convenience, the loyalty, the reducing sales cycle. It improves massively over those, certainly if you've made sure your website is properly mobile compatible. So, for example, if you are searching for a restaurant nearby, now that we can go to restaurants or a hotel nearby or something nearby and you do a quick search, it can pop up really, really fast and quickly, and you can simply click on a button and you can navigate there or call them and arrange a booking there, or in some cases even book directly on your mobile phone. So this reducing brand cycle is really, really fast. We have found, for example, that some of the smaller organizations that we've supported, who've looked at various things like drop shipment or selling directly, they can, for smaller, cheaper goods, they can drive a huge amount of sales directly through Facebook advertising. And you can drive sales, you can get a good video clip in there with a good offer and a good way of getting people to click through to the adverts. We can drive sales there really fast to the extent where we can get people seeing the advert and buying lower price products. We're not talking about expensive items here, but lower priced items up to about say £20, certainly in my experience, with a good reduction. We can get sales there in Facebook advertising in seconds. Obviously, you need to capture their attention and you need to provide an easy click through, an easy way of purchasing, and so on. But you can actually reduce the sales cycle really, really fast. And the important thing, we're going to talk about this later on, but it's measurable. You can actually work out using your social media, linking this, for example, within Google Analytics, which is free of charge. You can actually work out exactly how much your adverts are working, how much your social media post is worth, what's working, what's not working. You can measure it, you can control it. We do something called A/B or split testing on our social media, or certainly companies doing that, where they can do this, and you can actually test with your social media what's working better compared to others. You may find a photo is working better than straightforward text, or a video is working straightforward better than a photo. And if that's the case in split testing, you can start to adapt and change and improve your social media marketing, get much better targeted results. And if it's done correctly, digital marketing can be both efficient and effective. So the trends, and we've already touched upon this. The trend is definitely mobile. You need to make sure you can test if your website is mobile compatible. You don't need fancy tools. You just need to Google free website analytic tools, and you can actually direct it to yourself. There's nothing complicated there, really. Just Google search. But being mobile friendly is really, really, really important. Not just for paid ranking for SEO, but also for directly sales. So, for example, a quick example here: one of my friends, Tim and Ingrid, they own a really nice high-end hotel in the Auvergne region of France. Pre-lockdown, 82% of their sales was through mobile only. Now, traditionally, a couple of years ago, you would have got some people looking on a mobile than buying on a laptop or a PC. But what's happening nowadays, the whole journey, whole funnel, shall we say, is undertaken directly on the mobile phone. So this mobile compatibility, this mobile speed, because some people are just using their mobile data, and in some areas in the UK, the mobile data isn't the fastest around. So it definitely needs to be mobile compatible because it can have a direct impact on your sales. So thinking about this digital, not just about, most people talk about the most valuable brands and how much they're worth, but think about the power behind this. You look at, for example, when this survey was taken, Disney was seen as the most powerful brand. Okay, it wasn't the most valuable, but definitely the most powerful brand out there. Its website was incredibly popular. You can use a website. It's nice. It's fun. It's for all age groups. It's for the big. It's for the big kid in you as well. So you've seen some of the prices of these Lego models. It's scary, actually. You can go on there. It's got a really nice, friendly website, but you can actually physically create on this website. You can create your own models and designs. You can put them up there. They even show you how to do this, and they can get voted. So people will actually go in there and vote for the models they prefer, and the top models then get put on. They're actually produced, and you get the percentage share of that. Now, if you think about that, this is like a creation where your customers are physically designing the products and services that you are, and then voting on it. So there's like buying in that process. Then to actually go ahead, then to actually go out there and market it. So it's really, the customer interaction, the customer buying is really good. And obviously behind that as well, you've got the videos and what have you to support it. Right, objectives. From a business point of view, there are, in general, again, I'm generalizing, there are 5 key objectives. Now, this is obviously not for charities or trade social enterprises and so on. This is for businesses, but definitely for all areas, it's for reaching the right audience. Where is your audience? Where are they looking? How are they looking? What time of the day are they looking? And then creating your content out there, the type of content which triggers it, which means they don't just whiz past your post or whatever, but it actually catches their attention and obviously puts something in place to motivate your audience to do what's called a call to action, take action. You probably hear people talk about CTAs, that actually means call to action. It means click on something, so they go through to your website, or they'll comment on something, or they'll go on so on, or quite importantly, they come on your email list or what have you. Okay, so you do this and you measure what's going on to make sure that what you're doing is effective and efficient. Return, create a substantial, maximize your return on the investment. So in the digital marketing terms, yeah, we used to do this STP, segmentation, where you take the overall market, split it up, decide which parts of the market you target, and then create some product positioning. Now, in the digital marketing terms, what we tend to do nowadays is we tend to jump straight in and look at who are the customers. Now, if you're used to this, then you typically create 3 to 5 personas which represent your customer base. This, for example, is for a digital marketing business that I was involved in setting up, and there was about 3 personas, but I was involved in setting this up about 4 years ago. A very successful business, very successful actually. And for the first 3 months, we actually got enough sales in place to keep them more than covered for a whole 12 months. And they created what they thought was characteristics of the people who were interested in their particular product and services. So what channels were they using? What key goals were out there? What's their expectations? What are their challenges and fears and so on? Now, the key thing about these personas is that what you are doing is looking at how to grab their attention, but what you're also doing is looking at their fears and barriers. What is stopping them from clicking through and buying into your system? What is stopping them from clicking through and inquiring and so on? What are the fears about whatever it is, your product or service you are potentially offering? And so what you do is you create these personas, If you're a new company, you just create one. So don't look at this and think, oh my God, what to do. If you're a brand new company starting off, or a small business starting off, just initially start to think about who is your ideal persona characteristic. More established, or you're used to this, you're probably creating around 3 to 5 different personas for your target. For example, one of our friends, she's a hairdresser. We actually worked out that there was 4 different personas. They had different characteristics. They had different wants. They had different fears. They used different social media channels at different times of day, and so on. So we created this as like a benchmark that you can then use to go forward and have your messages, have your content targeted in the right way. So yeah, in the first case, I have to admit this does look a bit strange and complicated. If you look at it, it's basically just what are the characteristics of people who are or who potentially will buy your product service. What is it they want? How are you going to capture their attention? What are their fears? What are their wants, and so on? All these things that you can use as part of your social media content creation, your posts, your blogs, YouTube clips, and so on, actually capture them and bring them to your customer base. So, just a quick example. La Pizza Factory. This is actually based in France, at La Pizza Factory, so it's not open at the moment. But La Pizza Factory is artisan pizzas, the same as Wildfire Pizza, based in North Staffordshire and South Cheshire. Both of these create really nice artisan, handmade stone-baked pizzas. But the actual personas, the actual customer base is slightly different. The one on the left is based in Lille, and midday, most of their customers are actually business people. Now, these business people will be looking on their mobile phone. They'll be looking for a nice area to get a nice relaxing meal, which is consistent and reliable, traveling from A to B, and they want somewhere where they can just get a nice meal, relax for a bit, before then carrying on. So there's reliability there. In afternoon and evening, the target market was actually very different. The target market for the Pizza Factory was young adults who came together to enjoy, sharing pizzas, or lockdown, or families coming together to basically sit around a table and enjoy a couple of pizzas. So each of these 3 target personas had to be targeted and marketed to slightly differently, with different content and different messages to get out there to actually capture their attention, and get them to come to the Pizza Factory, buy the pizza. The wood-fired pizza on the right-hand side is very much, as you can see here, directly. It's for festivals, weddings, social events, corporate events. But they also go around, for example, in North Asia, they go around and park up, and obviously, are available there. So they'll be getting. They have a B2B, very much a B2B for their festivals, weddings, social events, and corporate events. But also the B2C, which will be marketing slightly differently. So their target audience is quite different from the left-hand side, but their target audiences are a couple of characteristics. You've got the B2B market in place, and a couple of B2C markets in place. All of these is about knowing and developing your target audience. You're sitting back probably thinking, well, how do I do this? There are free tools out there. There are free tools, and Uber Suggest by Neil Patel, SEMrush do a free one. Google Trends can show you what trends is going on. Google Analytics itself, or even the browser, can show you what's happening. And you can also use these tools to find out what customers are searching for, what they're engaging with, what your competition is doing, and so on. So some of these are time limited. Admittedly, some of them, like Google, is free of charge. In fact, Google itself is really, really powerful. If you have not got Google, certainly an updated version of Google on your website, you need that plugged in, and you need to look at the analytics. You need to look at certainly their free training courses out there to understand the analytics, because this can give you the keywords that people are using to find your website, the times of day they're looking on the social media, what's working to come through to your website. You can use this to even find out when they come to your website, what is their path to go through for you to get the sales, to capture their details on email and so on. So this Google is really, really important. And again, it's a free tool. Admittedly, there is a technical barrier there, but it does have free training there available to you. So you can actually go in there and see what to do and how to do this and so on. Okay, you've probably seen this content marketing funnel or the customer journey before. There are loads of ways of doing this. There's different systems, AIDA and what have you. Certainly in America, what is quite strong nowadays is it's know, like, and trust. Social Media Examiner, Amy Porterfield, and even Neil Patel we've talked about before, quite strongly use this know, like, and trust. So how are you going to get your new customers at the top of this know area? How are you going to get them to become aware of your sales and your products? So what you're going to do there, you can analyze this, you can look, again, it's part of the persona, you can see what you're going to do to basically create the awareness. Now, obviously, you're not going to get all the people coming through to actually start to do some call to action, do something where they click through the website, have a look at your testimonials, have a look at your webinars, subscribe to your maybe a new, or have a look at your newsletters, or look at the demos or social media and so on. There's going to be a drop-off rate as you go through, but as you go through and you can improve this, you can then take them through using your digital marketing to this contact, to this inquire, to this actual purchase, where you are selling your product and service. Now, what isn't covered here, then once they've got one sale, what you can do with that, and what you should be doing then is working with the customer base. You work with the customer base, look at repeat customers and how you're going to do that. We still find, even nowadays, despite the fact that email is a bit overwhelming, email is still quite a strong way of getting people to create that sale. Was Twitter, for example, finding is okay for branding and maybe like at the top of the funnel, a no bit, but Twitter, we struggle with Twitter, trying to get the sales on that side. But certainly email is quite strong for getting the sales at the bottom end. Once you've got them, you need to try and encourage them to come up. Your customers, they're retweeting what you're doing, they're saying what you're doing and everything else. It's an incredibly powerful form of marketing. Basically, it's word of mouth. If, for example, you're on Facebook and one of your friends posts something, far more likely read it and look at it and so on, look at their recommendations compared to an advert on Facebook. So this advocate marketing is a massively powerful one. Don't just think of it like a single sale, but think about repeat sales, but also working with and helping your customers try and do your marketing for you almost. And sometimes you need to do that extra effort in there. So, for example, there's an Indian restaurant. This is pre-lockdown. There's an Indian restaurant in Osage called Latif's. We even explored with head chef Abdul Latif about trying to create, for example, putting a model of an elephant there that people stand against their photograph taken, as like a little thing that they like to do. So they have their photograph taken, maybe standing next to an elephant, a pretend elephant, or having a trunk over it, their arm, or something like that. And yes, it's a deliberate ploy, but it's a deliberate ploy where your customers are basically going in there and taking photographs, which they're then putting on Pinterest and Snapchat and Instagram. And so your customers are marketing for you. So think about the way you can work with customers to get your customers to do your marketing for you, because that is really, really powerful. Right, I've already touched upon this, but certainly emails is seen as a powerful tool. Certainly talking to my colleagues, for example, in accountancy and finance, they actually see a substantial, a good, clear email list being a financial asset of a business. So work with the system. Ideally, your website capturing customer details, capturing, for example, their name and what have you. But your CRM system behind that needs to be compliant, so that, for example, if you're using MailChimp is automatically compliant, so that it makes sure it's not just get anybody putting their details in there, but they confirm the details and so on. So it's like an audit check. You confirm that they, you can actually prove that they have requested to go onto your database. Once you've got these confirmed, audited contacts, you are then have quite a powerful thing that you can then use to help promote sales, promote branding, promote just keeping in contact and in people's and so on. But once you start to get this, you can start to use this database. You can start, we're going to start implementing again, but you can start to look at the profiles, how they work, what's working, what's not working, how different characteristics are coming through, maybe even the sales cycle. Some of the B2B sales cycles on the customers we support, they may actually get an inquiry one day, but actual sales tend to tear through, and it's up to about 9 months later. So you can't just assume that you haven't got a response, you haven't got a detail, you haven't got a sale within the first couple of weeks, being, you know, that didn't work, we're just gonna park them. It's about gently reminding them, or gentle updates what's happening, or did you know kind of information, or new member of staff, or are you aware this change in legislation? These gentle, helpful, informative prompts as you're going through, and get them to look at it. You may not get a massive click-through rate, you may not get a massive open rate, but it is a gentle reminder. So, for example, it's about social media examiner. In my area, digital marketing, my area changes so fast, it's unbelievable. I have to spend a long time, quite a lot of time per week, just to keep on latest changes to do with Instagram, TikTok, Google, and so on. But I still get social media examiner emails, but I won't open all of them. I'll only open about per month, maybe. But I will use that as a prompt to remind me to listen to their blogs using. So although I may not open it, I will directly use it as a prompt. So in the evenings and weekends, I'll then spend time trying to keep up to date with what's the latest things that's happening for marketing, which irritates my wife like crazy. But never mind. So it's about keeping up to date. So do not think that emails going through is just totally left on the ears. Key components. This isn't all of them, but certainly the key components in digital marketing. We've touched upon the website. Is it a nice, clear website, nice and friendly? Are the graphics not too big to slow it down? Is the text at the top? Is it designed in such a way that, like the H1 and H2 and H3 headings and the rest of it are nice and clear? Have you got the keywords in the right place? You're not overpacking the keywords. Something which we're not really going to go into too much, but nowadays, when you're looking at keywords, and if we're looking at something, the technical term is long tail keywords. Nowadays, if people are doing a search, they will not do a search, or if they do a search, it'll be right at the top of the funnel, trainers, nice trainers, or trainers sale. But the ones that get the sale is what's called the long tail keyword searches. So, for example, we talked about pizzas. The one that the inquiries that get sales is the one with a large number of words, which could be salmon stone baked pizzas near me. So there's quite a few words in there, and that's the kind of thing you need to start to consider within your website. Don't just think about short words like pizzas and wood-fired pizzas, but what are your customers actually typing in towards when they're really, really interested, they've done some research, and they really want to buy into the product and service. Once you start to build that in, obviously it goes through the search engine optimization and so on. So we'll start to go through a few of these. Okay. So with digital marketing, you can find and engage your customers. You can work with them. You can work with them and answer their questions. In fact, even use social media, for example, social media to get customers away from competitors. So it's quite a powerful system out there. You can use this for increasing sales. You can use this for earning money directly. For example, on a lot of courses, demonstrate how to use and how that works. It's amazing how much nowadays people have become interested in lockdown in cryptocurrency mining and dealing. And again, a lot of that is that's online. Once you become an influencer, for example, you can then look at how to training to them. I wouldn't recommend. We find if you become an influencer and you try and go straight to membership site, it doesn't really sell to them. You offer them a training course. By the time you've offered them a training course, come to the end, they then want something else. They then want to be part of the community and so on. And that's when you build in the membership sites. That can be really, really powerful. And we know the ways of doing this. Being an influencer at the moment, I've talked about Latif, for example. So Abdul Latif, when he first started working with us, I remember what he's done. If I look at YouTube and do a search on Latif's Inspired. Okay, so Latif's Inspired's got 189,000 subscribers. And when we started working with Abdul, he had about 38 subscribers on YouTube. So we know the tool and technique you can use to actually create people to be influencers. And again, as a business tool, maybe you want to do that. Your business is based around a person, and you're the only, for example, of doing this. It's ideal. If it's based around a group of people, create with this group of people, it's a danger, mind you. So, for example, if Abdul Latif decided to leave the restaurant in Alsager, then obviously he takes his whole influence away with him. So there is a danger there. But if there's an integral part of being an influencer with that business, you can use influencer tactics as an example for creating interest in your particular organization. We get a lot of questions about search engine optimization, and it's interesting because this and what's needed for this changes on a regular basis. Even like some of the latest couple of updates that Google has implemented in its algorithm has changed the listings in organizations that there was. Some of it is minor changes, and maybe only 2 or 3, but obviously, they may have dropped only 2 or 3, but obviously we've got to then work to bring that back up again. So it's aligning we talked about long tail keyword searches. It's about aligning the content directly with what people are looking for, the quality of the website. It's the content of the website, the relevant for what people are searching. The links to your website needs to be directly in line with the theme of your website. So, for example, we talked about pizzas. If you had people linking to your website to do with cars or to do with something else, that can actually damage the quality of the ranking on your website. You have to be careful with the links. You have to be careful with the graphics, the naming of the graphics, and so on. There's something called content clusters. Content curation is massively important for website ranking, and we are finding something called content clusters really, really important as a tool for raising the profile, for raising web pages. We've actually unusually, but I've taken a website from being brand new to the top of keyword searches in around 2 weeks. Now, if it's really, really competitive, we're talking months. But there's definitely tools and techniques, even with the content changes, but it's using content curation directly in line. So it's all coordinated and directly in line with the website and what we're trying to achieve with the website. So search engine optimization, ideally, it needs to be, it needs to be organic rather than paid for, where people do a search. I've talked about this, so I with this. So somebody did a search for a hotel with spa. in the Ozell region or the Auvergne region, the Chardonnay, for example, would rank highly, but it would exist at the moment. It's too successful. It's booked out now for many weeks ahead because of their website. It's really, really successful. And I've mentioned before, even nowadays, people are working from home. Still, over 50% of their sales is still done directly through a mobile only. Okay. Paid for advertising. Paid for advertising. I have to say, paid for advertising is incredibly tough. You can go to Facebook and you can put it on Facebook, and then you can boost for. And as first tries and experiments, that's quite a handy way of starting. But once you start to get into the more complicated areas of Google advertising and Facebook advertising, you're offered a lot of options. Facebook, in my opinion, has got incredibly complicated. A number of options and stuff available. We're actually finding at this point on Instagram advertising, certainly for a number of key audiences, far more effective than Facebook. Easier to do, more effective, certainly for the younger generation and Gen Z and so on. But going back to Google and Facebook, it's in place. But I would, if you're starting to look at this, I would look at getting some support or training if you're thinking about taking this further. And again, there's other organisations out there which are totally nailing this. I was talking to one of our ex-students, Craig Holdcroft, who runs Holdcroft for marketing, and looking at some of the analytics behind that. I mean, he's getting around 600 to 800% ROI on advertising. That you need to keep an eye on it, and it's not just about the way you're doing the advertising. What does it look like going through the final result, the final page? Because there's something on the final page which Google doesn't like. Even though you're paid for advertising spot on, because it doesn't like your page, it will actually just simply stop your advertising properly. If you get it right, then the idea of Facebook advertising is one of the ideas. The ideal part of Facebook advertising is that it's very fast. You can set it up and you can get your advert in front of people within minutes. And if once you're used to this, you can do it in seconds even, but it's going. And if you can do it right, it can be highly profitable. As I noted before, you can specifically target areas. You can target type of time of day, geographical areas, depending on what the service and product is. You can target people who've been to your website before. If you've got certain things on your website in place, you can retarget or target people that have been onto your website, things like Facebook, the coding in place. You can even target your competitors. You can target keywords, and you can get immediate feedback. You can see on immediate, second by second, almost what's happening. We're finding, just as a slightly different note, we're finding Google Analytics slightly faster in getting feedback than Google AdWords, which is a bit behind. So certainly, if you are doing this, we are finding Google Analytics response than Google AdWords. Okay, disadvantage. Very competitive in a lot of areas. You'll spend a lot of money. Ideally, you need to get a lot of click-throughs within a certain period of time for even the AI system to get into place, and that in itself can be. And obviously, for the really competitive keywords, it can be quite expensive. Mind you, for the long-tail keywords, which ideally are the ones that are driving, these tend to be cheaper. So that's a And again, obviously, when you stop paying for this, your advert stops straight away. So it's a straightforward finish. Whereas SEO, if you can do inbound marketing, get that up, longer term, we tend to find the return on investment for getting your website sorted out, your SEO sorted out, inbound marketing sorted out. We tend to find the ROI stronger, but it takes longer for it to become obvious, and you gently maintain it, but it carries on for longer. Certainly, if you create something like what's called content, which people are really interested in over a longer period of time, and you might want to, you're going to have to use other tools to get to your website. But if you're coming in and you're new to this, you may want to consider a mixture of both. Setting up your website, setting up your SEO properly, setting up content which will be there for a while. Look at platforms like YouTube, which I know it's scary being in front of a camera and everything else. You look at YouTube, you can put content on YouTube and it stays effective for a long period of time. Whereas if you put a post on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook, it's there for a short period of time and then it disappears. It's not being effective. So think about your platform and how what we call, there's something called evergreen content. Content that is really interesting, that people want to go to, refer to, or click through for a much longer period of time. So if we touch upon social media, there's lots of different social media platforms out there. Clubhouse, certainly if you're customers in America, Clubhouse is taking off a lot in America. And we're finding Clubhouse, certainly in the American B2C market, quite effective. But at the moment, if I'm right, that only works on Apple. It doesn't work on Android systems. I thought before, but there's a lot of systems you can see there. Instagram Reels, we're finding Instagram Reels quite effective as well. TikTok, you can use hours on TikTok. And it's certainly during lockdown, the age range that are using TikTok has massively increased. It's become really, really important in markets. But Twitter, for branding purposes, get out there. Certainly for monitoring what's going on, monitoring what customers are doing. You can use those to keep an eye on what's happening from your customer base, customer feedback, and so on. Because as I said already, remember the fact that your customers will be using social media at different times of day. You can go on, for example, we use Sprout as one of our tools to demonstrate best times of day. This is generic over tens of thousands of results. You need to use your Google Analytics to find out. You need to use your social media analytics as well to find out exactly when are the best times and the best time of day, or even the best days for using social media to get in the kind of impact. The advantage of social media is you can create, once you look at and understand the analytics behind it, targeted content out there. You can create a strong return on investment. Potentially, if you're creating something unusual, it can go viral and certainly create a really good ROI, and it can be cost-effective time and so on. You have to do it carefully, simply because a lot of it's out there is then in the public. Even if you post something and then delete it, for example, Twitter, people can do screenshots and therefore there's this captures in place. People have got it, so don't think they can just delete something on the internet. It disappears. It doesn't. So you have to be careful how you do it, and it can be damaging or ineffective. Do it correct. We've touched upon this a few times. There's a whole system out there. Have a look at Google Webmaster Tools. Have a look at social media marketing tools, Google Analytics. Have a look at that and the free training courses around that, because it's really, really useful. I've talked about a huge number of digital platforms out there. I've talked about a huge number of systems out there, and so on. You're probably sitting back now thinking, oh my goodness, a lot. Busy. I'm not slightly busy. I am really, really busy. How do I do this? Remember the personas. The personas, how you target your marketing. Not use all the social media platforms all the time. Come back and develop and work with your personas, characteristics of your customer types, and therefore you can see what the platform to do, when to do it, and so on. You can then use that to create an integrated marketing calendar, so you can see what's going on, you can see what to do when. Now remember, this isn't for the impromptu stuff. You might have to do some impromptu things immediately on top, but definitely this is a good basis to work from. And obviously, if you're running events, if you're running competitions and so on, build that within your integrated marketing calendar. And put that in it at, for example, this is an overall one over the year. You may want to bring that down to a weekly basis if you want to go down that far, and so on, to show the best times and what to do when. Any questions from me at all? If you type them in, I can't see them directly, but one of my colleagues, Anna, take that and type it in so I can see any questions. Anna's just said nothing at the moment, no problem at all. If you just type it in, next I'm going to pass over to my colleague Laura Knight, who's going to talk about support that's available for businesses.
Thank you, Paul. Hi everyone, my name's Laura. I work in our employer partnerships team within the Innovation Enterprise Zone. So I'm just going to quickly run through some of the fully funded projects that we have that are available to employers at the moment, and then some other ways that larger companies can get involved with us as well. Could I get the next slide, please, Paul? Thank you. So within the Innovation Enterprise Zone, we work across a variety of projects. We've invested around £6 million in our facilities, and we have designated space for employers to use. So we have prototyping and new product development that we can support with. This is predominantly around the manufacturing sector. We can help you develop new to market products. We can also help you with developing new services or perhaps a process within your business to help streamline. Again, as I've mentioned, this is fully funded, and you would have a student or graduate for 15 hours per week, dedicated academic support, and access to our equipment that I'll talk about in a bit more in a moment. We also have a SMEs project, and that's around intelligent mobility, which looks at transports, logistics, mobility. It's about the green and more efficient movement of goods and people around the world. That one's fully funded for a year, and again, companies would be able to have a student or graduate place for 1 year, an academic lead and a technician, as well as access to our facilities. We also have an incubation and hatchery space, which is where I'm sitting today, and this is designated office space. So we have sorry, I've lost myself. We have 11 incubator offices. Sorry, I can't remember how many we had. Those are designated office space. We then have the hatchery, and that's more pods, and that's more of a collaborative space for employers to get involved with. Ideal for startups or small companies. In terms of the equipment, we have a lot here on site, including things like robotic arms and particle size analyzers, all sorts of fancy things that you can tap into. We also offer, that will be launching in the next few weeks, fully funded CPD and short courses. So perhaps if you've liked what you've heard today, we will be running some short courses on management, senior leadership, web-based computing, cybersecurity, sustainability within your business. There's no cap on how many people can take part in that from your business. So if you wanted to put yourself forward, or perhaps some of your colleagues, we'd love to hear from you. We also run apprenticeships, and they're in a variety of areas, including digital marketing, HR, senior leadership. We have an on-site recruitment agency, Unitemps, and they can support you with tapping into our student and graduate talent. So if you wanted a placement or work experience right through to a graduate level opportunity, they can manage the full recruitment process for you. And in terms of innovation support for large employers, we can also help you developing proposals for things like Innovate UK, the research councils, etc. And we also do a lot of work across knowledge transfer partnerships as well. So again, if there was something in particular you wanted to discuss to look at the processes or performance within your business, we can look at something like that as well. Can I get the next slide, please, Paul? If you want any further details or perhaps a copy of our digital brochure, please do drop us an email on employers@staffs.ac.uk. Further information can also be found on our web pages, which is on the Staffordshire University webpage /business services. And if you would like to book onto any more webinars, we are running a series of these, and there's a couple every week over the next couple of months. Please have a look again on our events page on our website as well, and you'll be able to book on there. That's it from me. Thank you very much. And I think there's a question that's come in for you, Paul, as well.
Where would I start developing brand personas, for example? How would I go about identifying their fears? What channel would I use? For example, we find that if you already set up and established, then the best approach is simply to ask the customers at this point in time when they come in, when they talk to you, ask them how did they do, how did they find it, how was the website, any questions and queries. We also tend to look at the business cases quite often. For example, if you come on and talk about the apprenticeship schemes, you've got direct access to our Mintel databases and what have you, where there's case studies already outlined there. Plus the fact that even to start with a prompt, just a thought, just do a Google search on thoughts and fears, and then talk about the business type, whether it's business people, whether it's food lovers, where it's if you look for one of my kids is a vegetarian, thoughts and fears of vegetarians and so on, and there's a huge amount of information out there already on Google. So if you're already in place, ask your customers and also do a Google search. If you're a brand new customer that's setting up and you're looking at developing your personas, just simply do a Google search. In addition, for personas, there are actually a huge number of templates out there. You can just simply take and adapt. And again, I'll make it complicated. Just do a Google search. Look at the example of persona templates. Do Google search persona templates. Look at the examples out there, and then choose which you think is the strongest for your business type, or for your social enterprise or charity. That's brilliant. That's all for quick.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Paul.
Okay, I think that's everything. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed today.
Oh, one more question.
Oh.
There we can't copy and paste it.
Can you see it, Paul?
All right, yes, I can see it. Now, the best thing is good quality. If you put out bad content on your social media and on your website, it actually has a negative effect. So the best thing to do is look at the content. Through the slide, you saw, for example, the free tools out there that people are using. Create less content, but in line with what your customers, your particular target customers, those keywords and the content that people are using. So, for example, depends on the type of business you're in, but how-tos nowadays is pretty oversaturated. So have a look at the longer tail keyword searches, just something simple as how to do a wood-fired pizza, how to do a stone-baked wood-fired pizza at home would be a longer tail keyword, so you can actually create content more in line with what your customers want. If you get bad content out there, we are finding it is basically creating a negative effect. And if you start to create a negative environment or vibe or brand essence, shall we say, around your organization, that becomes very difficult then to try and pull it back afterwards. So try and keep your content quality as possible. Brilliant. That's all for now. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining us.